Ngcobo World Cup 2023.
Hello and welcome along to another edition of Extra Time Unlocked right here on Gaga CFM. Asaphelile amaphupho ke manje. It is the final of the final of the final because it is the big one. Obviously, Springboks up against the All Blacks. That is on the Rugby World Cup final. It's going to be happening on Saturday night. Mapoloba, once again, welcome to Gaga CFM. Thank you so much for joining us. And we've been talking about the Rugby World Cup since it started. Punting amapogopogo sisho ukuthi they are going to be reaching the final. And asiqale lapha kuma semi-finals. What a hectic game against England. We both sort of said ukuthi it was going to be a tough one. And indeed, it was a tough game. Purely because I think mostly it was because of the performance of the Springboks.
Yeah. It's the final of final.
Yeah.
Yeah, semi-final. I think, yeah, you're right in that say. I think England were very well prepared. They did their homework. They planned it to the T, just like the French. But at the end of the day, there's that one word I keep repeating. I think it should be put on Google. Yes. You can't take away
What
that.
is yes? Kubantu abangazi. Yini yes?
Yes, inkani, yabona nje amanye amandla, yabona nje unga give up.
Khona lenkani lesina.
Khona lenkani esinayo emzansi, khona lenkani esinayo. Singahamba sola nombani nje. Khona lenkani esinayo. Nomuntu abambe ummese nomsiphamphambi kwakhe leyo nkani leyo uthi hayi sengenze kwenzekalayo. Yeah, but like you pointed out, it was a tough one. Lots was at stake there. Northern Hemisphere versus Southern Hemisphere. Last World Cup winners versus number 2, and then just Amangisi, Namzansi. That it was just, yeah, it was a spectacle. It was one of those, you got what you wanted.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, England played well. I got to say that they played well. We were a bit sloppy. I think, obviously, is the quarterfinal they took out a bit of wind for us, so we started quite slow. The weather didn't also help, but England were just to the T. They planned it to the T.
Yeah.
But the one thing I always said to people is that no matter how well they played, they never looked like scoring. If you watch anything, they never looked like scoring. They were there to capitalize on any points or any mistakes we made, and they did that. And till now, like I said to you, this World Cup, the Springboks can score.
Definitely. And we did get our try, which was a very important one in the second half. But players coming in to change the game, the likes of Oxenchair, Andre Pollard also coming in the first half. That was brutal by the Springbok coaching team, chucking out to Manili Bok, Bangenisu Pollard after 31 minutes in the game. But how big was the impact from the guys who came off from the bench?
As much as you said it's chucking them out, as a coach, you got to make those tough decisions.
Yeah.
As a coach, you can understand when things aren't going to play. And I think if you're a professional player as well, as a person like Manny Lebo, I guess it's bad coming off in the first half. But if you look at it in a holistic way, the game plan changed. The way we wanted to play had to change. The way we wanted to do things had to change. And then the change that came there was a sacrifice of one man for another man. And at the end of the day, it's a team sport. So everybody kind of understands. Yes, we're watching it from a fan's view, but it had to happen, and it happened, and it got us through the line. So everyone's done their part. As you said, Ox came on there, Ox cheese. Silence done when you scrums, you can see.
Exactly.
And that's what we needed. So everybody played their part, and that's why it's, like I've said, the team with the best 23-man squad would win. And
the World Cup.
Even the World Cup. But I remember I said against England, I said, 23-man squad will win us that game. It's not going to be 15, and England only had 15 players. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think, no disrespect to Argentina, but I don't think the second semi-final or the first semi-final is not worth talking too much about because the All Blacks absolutely slaughtered them. But let's look at the final now. Obviously, going into this one after winning against England, the performance wasn't great. And you mentioned, Uguti, we got battered against France physically. The boys had a tough game. They were able to win by 1 point, did the same thing again against England. Do you stick with the same team? And I'm talking about the starting team here, going into a final against the All Blacks.
Yeah, and just to a point, I think we said it all fair. There's another thing we've all got to remember. The Springboks have played, I think, the 4 best teams in the world. We've played Ireland, we've played Scotland, we've played France, we've played England. So obviously the toll on the body starts, but in saying that, so we've managed them well, I must say. So yeah, I think for the final, as we know, New Zealand play a different type of brand of rugby. I don't think we'll start that same starting pack we've done for the last 2 weeks. I think there'll be a bit of tweaks here and there. Yeah, I think maybe in the scrum off department. Fly-off, I'm not sure, but I think both two fly-offs, I think one will be starting, one will be on the bench.
So far for Kobus.
Yeah, far for Kobus, I think maybe only one of them will play this one. I think.
So you're saying between the two of them, Konos or Puma completely squad
Konos
in?
or Puma completely squad in. But forwards-wise, I think we're going to stick with the same forwards. But I think, or I would like to see, in my opinion, is a Trevor. I think we need that mobility play and the scrummage as well. Not taking away anything from Vincent Koch, but I just think we need a more mobile player. As we know, New Zealand play an expensive type of rugby. We need someone who can run around the field, do the scrums as well, and play and be physical in defence. As you've seen with Ox and Chen, I think they've complemented each other in the past few games that they've played together. So yeah, if he's 100% fit, I'd like to see him play. And we never know. At 13, he might just have a secret weapon coming on. So we'll just have to wait for the team announcement.
The one who hasn't played in this World Cup.
The one who was just saved for the special occasion.
Would that be a bold decision from the Bok coach? Would it be a wise one? Ukuthi sifake uLukhanyo for the first time in the World Cup in a final against the All Blacks? Would that be a wise thing to do?
The man's got BMT. It's in his DNA.
Nah.
He's been in the final. He did something special in the final for us.
Yeah.
He's done some special things for us against New Zealand. I think he understands New Zealand. So for me, as a coach, Jack, you know what to do.
Let's look at both teams now. Obviously, you analysed the England last weekend. Washuguti, this is the kind of game that they are going to bring, and this is how we beat them. Looking at the styles of both sides now, All Blacks and the Springboks, how do we beat in New Zealand going into this game? We know, Uguti, they are the kind of side that is very attacking, and they play a very expansive brand of rugby. But how do we actually neutralise them? And do we play the same way we did in our warm-up game where we got a record 35-7 win against them? I know it's a completely different mentality for All Blacks going into this one, but what's the approach from the Springboks?
One thing I can guarantee from New Zealand, it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
Any chance you give them, they're going to convert it. So I think the approach we need to take is the same approach that Ireland took, especially on attack. You keep the ball as much as you can, you put them under pressure, and you make sure when you're kicking into space, you don't kick to players, because people like Will Jordan, one-on-ones, they're going to beat you. In the air, just like you saw the Johnny Mays of England, they'll take that ball up in there. So we've just got to make sure we are brutal enough up front to put them under pressure, and we know when we're brutal like that and we do ball retention quicker, much better than the England game. And I think New Zealand is going to force us to play quicker. So even though we'll try to slow it down, like everyone's saying, we've been slowing everyone down, but they'll just give that tempo just like the French did.
Yeah.
We'll play at a much higher level, so you'll need your quicker players. Your players like Lukunyan off the bench, coming off the bench, or Kwacha are going to be very important, because they're going to have to get to the ball and break down. So yeah, I think in the line-outs, we're going to have to tweak something a bit, just like we did in that warm-up game. We can't just be direct, trying to just do those slow moves. We're going to have to be quicker, play something off the back, like we did with the trial we got against England, where the guy peels off quickly when everyone was expecting us to try and maul it. So those little surprise elements, we just got to try put it there. And then obviously you need those special moments. Anything's possible.
Yeah.
But scrum-wise, I just got to make sure our backline is right and come on at the right time.
So obviously there was this dark cloud after game in England, where we didn't even get to celebrate a victory at Sugahle because of Tom Curry coming through accusing Ubongimbo Nambi of racially abusing him. But ngasho-ke manje ukuthi njengoba sikhuluma, we just got news ukuthi Ubongimbo Nambi has been found not guilty. As we all thought, vele ukuthi, when we got the footage, we heard what was actually said during the game. Mbonambi was screaming to abadlali bama Springboks and not directing anything to abadlali be England. So we're glad now that's got out the way, and Mbonambi is definitely going to be starting in the final.
You think about it, in the morning, what happened to the cricket team? Afternoon, it's a rugby team.
Yeah.
I don't think, and the historic between South Africa and England.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those kind of things, first was mind games from Orasi. They weren't too happy about that. And they also I think majority of the English players, they just felt like Urasi disrespected them and whatnot.
Yeah.
And babukela pants and babuela wanta bancane, so that always played a factor. I saw also the vice captain number 6. He's also retiring from international rugby. He's still a young guy, but I think South Africa. So it's just that beef that we have with them. Even Pollard mentioned it, that if it has to be beef, it has to be beef.
Aye, but they're taking it too far, Chief. like
So losers,
I feel like this was taking it too far in bringing something as sensitive as a race into this. You know, after the Boks were played fantastically, and we won the game. We beat England. They were better than us on the day for most of that game, but we beat them. You know, so to have sour grapes to that level, uzufaka izinto ezifana ne-race is just really terrible, man.
As fans abantu abantu abakwazi admit behlulile.
Yeah.
They just believe they're better than you. They believe they're better than you. And sometimes you just got to keep knocking them down.
Yeah.
For them to kind of get the lesson ukuthi hayi bafethu kohlani thini.
Yeah.
Sihamba ngolunye unyawo thini.
Abantu abaningi bakhala kakhulu ngo-referee kuma-semi-finals uBen O'Keefe in terms of the decisions that he made, especially in the first half of the game, you know. And we have Wayne Barnes coming through for this final that's going to be happening on Ngcobo, an English referee refereeing the Springboks and New Zealand. What do you think about that?
Yeah, for a referee, it's the hardest job in the world.
Yeah,
especially when those professional teams are up there. You know, there's things you're going to miss. And I think the one thing that we've done well as the Springboks, we've just kept grinding. No matter when things weren't going our way, we've kept grinding. We kept in the game. We've stuck to our guns and we've stuck to our tactics. And we've pulled it through. So, yeah, our referee, Wayne Barnes is a professional. He has to be a professional. He has to do what he's employed to do. But, yeah, no, he's there to manage the game on both teams with discipline and whatever happens. If we keep the game and we stick to our tactics, New Zealand stick to their tactics, and we play well, I don't see him having to intervene.
Yeah.
So referee, it's either you're on his side or you're not on his side. You do things right, you're on the ref side. If you do things wrong, then it's going to be a long 80 minutes.
Hayi mapholo basaphelile amaphupho manje.
Kakutshela
aphelile amaphupho manje ziyabulalana ngomgqibelo. And I want to get your prediction kodwa ngifuna ukuthi ukuyijulisa kancane. In terms of how do you think the game is going to go, and how is the team that you are going to tout ukuthi izowina, how are they going to win in the final?
I can tell you now, the game won't be open. It won't be just. I don't see it being a big score. I think a 5-point margin is big.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest you can get. I think both those teams, as much as they are nervous, but they also want to play, and they want to give it their all. They want to give it their best shot, but they're also wary of what the opposition is going to do. So yeah, as you know, I think it's England. New Zealand is going to run at us. They're going to give us that physicality. By Adi Sevilla, no Lokunjana, no Sam Kane. We're going to give them the bomb squad. You know that's coming. So I think they'll plan for that as well. They have to select their pack in a way to be able to balance things out. In the backs, they've got beautiful running backs.
Yeah.
Tina defensively very strong. We all know that. We're going to carry the ball up at their 12 midfield. I just think we need, the reason why I always say we need I think we need to release our back three. And that's the one thing that we've been missing as the backline of the Springboks. That 13 who can just release that ball, that extra inch, those extra few steps, meters, Kobe and them getting the ball free. But otherwise, if it's Titanic clash, if it's
Lastly, what's the score?
Yo!
You said 5-point margin. What's the score and who's winning?
Something along the lines 23-19 to the Springboks.
So, please repeat that.
Something along the lines 23-19 to the Springboks.
23-19.
We'll win it in the last
to the Springboks. Win it in the last 10 to 15 minutes, as we've done in the France game, as we've done in the England game, and the Boks to capture their 4th world title.
Maibuye.
Maibuye. And remember, my All Blacks are also trying to prevent us from defending the world title because they're the only team that's been able to do that in the history of the game.
Fought as well.
So there's a lot riding into this game, and that's why it's so exciting going into Ngcobo. At the start de France in Paris. We're looking forward to all of that action. We're going to wrap it up here for the Extra Time Unlocked this week. Asazi ukuthi siyobuya next week isinjani. Stress sesiphethe against England. Mhlawumbe siyobuya naso.
Abantu abathenga medication bekhulume nodokotela babo.
If you have heart problems, then you might want to get your medication in order. Ubeke imshanguzo yakho kahle lapho. Ushaye before and after a game.
Because ngeke half time. So besimingcile futhi. Kodwa ngathi kuminci kona kusizayo.
I know asibonge Mapholo.
Danke nganya kwethu.
Danke.
Sharp.
Gagasi.